Hello, my viewers and trolls. Nice to have you all join us today. Thank you so much, Pallavi, for joining me on what is
Thank you
a
so much.
very
Can
busy
you have
day
some more
for
light
you.
here? Light.
But this is, I think, this Goa exodus, especially in light of the Bharat Jodo Yatra, is really the biggest news of the day. And I just wanted to get some insight from you on was there any intelligence on this? I mean, was it being said that this may happen, or has it come out like a bolt out of the blue?
No, I think I would call it an intelligence failure. First of all, I'm very sorry for the lighting. It's just that bad spot I've got caught in. Pretty much the same condition actually in which the Congress party is in. But I know there is an intelligence failure because I tell you what happened, Advaita, is I think if you remember the first time round when Digambar Kamath and his MLA and the other MLAs were actually making sounds and noises about being unhappy, we had actually asked this question, a couple of us, that isn't it the fact that they're going to be joining the BJP? They dismissed it off. In fact, Dinesh Gundu Rao, who is in charge of Goa, went to the extent of saying that this is just fake news which is being peddled, and we all are in it together, and the party is intact. But
Hmm.
you saw what happened today. And
Yeah.
what is even worse is, and I think this is going to be a huge blow for Rahul Gandhi because I remember it was 4th or 5th of February, and this was just a couple of days before election, bang in the middle of the campaign. Rahul was in Goa for a day, and all of them, they went and took a pledge. They went to a
Yes.
church and they went to a mandir, if you remember, and they took an oath ki if we come back after winning, we are not going to leave the Congress party. And the reason why they did it, because you know how Goa politics work. I mean, it's an open secret. Horse trading. It's a very uncertain political kind of a situation. That's because in 2017, after Congress missed the bus in forming the government, 12 out of the MLAs left the Congress party. So this time round, I think the Congress was trying to learn a lesson from their goof up when they could not form the government, when they could have formed the government, and plus that the MLAs have quit. So they didn't want to take a chance. So what did they think of doing is oath lagwa do inka, and then they are not going to leave. But it was simmering because see, the Congress party is almost finished over there. It was extremely weak. There had to be a reason why the Congress leaders want to stay on with the Congress party, and they're all looking for the political future. And I'm not justifying their exit, but that's how politics and politicians often work. And that's exactly what happened to the Congress party. And there you saw what happened to that. It happened in the middle of the yatra.
So I'm not following the route of the yatra, but is he going through Goa? Is RG going through Goa
No,
next? Because there's Kerala and then
No, it's a
no,
very
he's
funny
not.
thing because he's going to be in Kerala for another 10 to 12 days. Then he's going to move on to Karnataka, where he's going to be there for 19 days. Then he goes to Maharashtra. That's the closest he gets to Goa.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then, of course, he moves on to, say, Rajasthan and bits of Telangana and, so on and so forth, and ultimately to Kashmir. But I
I
remember when
believe
I had interviewed yeah, sorry.
I believe he's spending only 2 days in UP. I mean, which seems a little strange, no?
See,
Considering
if you
that
go by
it's
the map, yeah,
yeah.
see, we are no ones to tell them, but he's not touching Gujarat in the yatra. He reaches Rajasthan sometime in December, by which time the Gujarat elections are over. And if he decides, and we were told that he's going to fly down to Gujarat and Himachal for campaigning, but then that yatra gets broken, right? The whole idea was to keep on walking. That's not going to happen because that means he's going to take a flight and go there. I'm very surprised that this is some people who are very upset with also about the fact that why couldn't he begin with, say, Gujarat? But I also feel, I'm saying this on the base of inputs, I also feel that some people felt that maybe Gujarat, he would not be able to have that kind of a crowd initially, which he's been able to muster in Kanyakumari, which is a safe option for the Congress party. Tamil Nadu, their own ally. And of course in Kerala, because he happens to be MP and a large number of MPs to the Congress party this time actually has come from the south. So it's not challenging. So maybe he didn't want to begin with the challenge because how do you do it? I mean, you trigger off a yatra from an out and out BJP bastion where the Aam Aadmi party is also there, who would of course create trouble for you, and it would be bad optics. But I am also being told that there's quite a possibility that throughout the entire route of his yatra, there are going to be more such incidents of people leaving the party, G23, hanging around. Also, elections are going to be there. So there are going to be those very, very deep, embarrassing moments for the Congress and for Rahul Gandhi.
Yeah, and I remember you did mention that when Azad quit, that this was the beginning of the knives out, and they are going to do things to embarrass Rahul Gandhi personally, because a lot of them feel, and this I'm adding from whatever I've read, a lot of them feel personally affronted by the way that he has treated them.
Yeah, I mean, but there are two ways of looking at it because when he's traveling in this yatra, you're seeing a large number of his group around him, his people. I mean, you see K.C. Venugopal, the return of Digvijay Singh, you have a Pavan Khera, you have a Jairam Ramesh, not anyone from the G23. And I suspect as whether because barring Shashi Tharoor, but who knows who's neither here nor there, and he has a kind of okay equation. I, I suspect that's exactly what the Congress leaders who are not G23 and who are loyalists will end up saying that the G23 makes such a thing about the Congress party not going out to the field, not hitting the ground. But where were they? Why didn't they join the Yatra even if it's for a day or two? I did speak to one such G23 member and I asked him, why aren't you there in the Yatra? And he's quite a fitness freak. And he said, but nobody asked me. But that's precisely the point. Do they have to ask you? Why aren't you not joining the Yatra? I think this could have been a
Yeah.
moment for G23. Yeah, I think this could have been a moment for some of the members of G23 to also show that, we are going to be walking and the party matters to us because all along that's what they have been saying, that we're not against the Congress, but we don't want this kind of a Congress. We don't want an armchair kind of a Congress. They could have proved their point. I don't know why they're not doing it. Maybe later on.
I mean, I think you're right. I think this possibility of more people quitting along this route is very likely, and I suspect this is the first of the many exits that we've seen. Pavan Khera, of course, was very critical of this. Naturally, it's his party where he said Operation
Yeah, I mean,
Kichad, and
we
you
don't
know.
blame him. He's going to defend the party.
Yeah, he is going to defend it, and there does seem this sort of more than a Bharat Jodo. It's like Congress ko Jodo. That seems to be like
Well,
a,
that's exactly what Ghulam Nabi Azad had told me, that it also has to be, it has to be about, uh, uh, about joining the party more than that. I mean, frankly speaking, Advaita, whenever yatras have taken place, and if you go through history, Jagan Mohan Reddy, L.K. Advani, Mamta Banerjee, it ended up strengthening their party. You take a
hmm,
theme, the theme can be
yeah.
anything. I mean, even the Gaurav Yatra of the Prime Minister when he was the Chief Minister in Gujarat was also based on a theme कि हम गुजरात की अस्मिता गुजरात की गौरव को झलकाएंगे. But what was the real purpose? The purpose is always political because politicians do their politics. So the यात्रा का purpose is also कि लोग जुड़ते जाएंगे, cadre होगा, ये होगा, वो होगा. But if people are going to start leaving the party, it's going to raise question marks about your ability to actually keep them together. And all along, Rahul Gandhi is making the point, I'm like any member of the party. I am a karyakarta. But you know how it's going to look in terms of
Yeah,
optics. I mean,
no one's
yeah,
buying it.
he'll blame us, he'll blame the media, but can you blame us for questioning him and his party then?
I think he has to make peace with the fact that no one buys this I'm just a karyakarta kind of narrative, because everybody knows exactly what's going on,
Yeah.
and who's in charge of the Congress. So
No,
I
look at
think,
all the promos, look at all the films. By the end of the day, they put up those
yeah,
videos where they keep on talking about the fact that देखो Rahul Gandhi ने इतना चला उतना चला. Fair enough. I mean, he's the de facto
yeah, fair
leader.
enough.
But then it doesn't work. People are not going to be convinced when you go on saying, oh, he doesn't want to become the president. He's just a karyakarta. No one is buying that.
But with this exit in Goa, Congress is pretty much finished in the state. Now,
So
some
there are only
people
three
thought.
MLAs left. Yeah.
Correct. I mean, now it's pretty much finished. Why do you think these guys, I mean, TMC, what do you think the TMC is thinking? Because they made this very grand and loud entry into Goa politics. There'll definitely be an opening for an opposition party. Right now, of course, there's nothing, at least for Pramod
But
Sawant
look
should
at
be.
it. Advaita, at this point of time, Congress has three MLAs and Aam Aadmi Party has two MLAs. I don't know how long
Hmm.
that's going to last because I'm sure the BJP would also want the Aam Aadmi Party MLAs to join them. But here's the thing with the Congress Party, it doesn't invite a disqualification clause because more than one third of the members have left and joining the BJP. I don't even know those three Congress MLAs, how long are they going to be there?
Going to
Because
stick around,
if
yeah.
they all Yeah, and if they also quit and they join the BJP, there's going to be no Congress, which is the same situation as the TMC. But that comparison is, I mean, that should not give any comfort to the Congress party, because Congress was at one point of time the only alternative to the BJP.
Hmm. Hmm. Not anymore. Not anymore. Although
Not anymore.
I will say that they still have pan India resonance in a
Yeah,
way that, and that's more a consequence of them surviving on their past brand rather than anything that they've done in the last decade now, which is a really long time, frankly, a whole decade of this kind of spiraling out of irrelevance. And but one more thing was, of course, we you mentioned that whole oath taking, pledge taking. Now you can't tie people to you, right? If they are going to go to temples and churches and take these oaths and quit, at some point, it's not fair on the Congress either. I mean, what more can they do?
yeah. But it was a bit silly, and I would say it's also a bit embarrassing because, I mean, I mean, in Goa politics, but it's true about most states now, but in Goa even more so, oath is not going to pin you down. It clearly hasn't. I mean, and as I said, I mean, if it had not been in the presence of Rahul Gandhi, then it wouldn't have been so bad. But it was all done in the presence of Rahul Gandhi. And it becomes very, very embarrassing that clearly the messaging is that even Rahul Gandhi doesn't matter or what. I mean, people make commitments over there. But I think this is what is going to keep on happening, frankly speaking, at better till the Congress party wins elections. The cadre, abhi to enthusiasm hai, because in South, the Congress still has its resonance over there. When it's going to start moving through BJP ruled states like Maharashtra, Karnataka, Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, that's where the challenge of the Yatra will also come across. And
Hmm.
cadre is going to be with you as long as you are able to tell them that, okay, we can win elections. You
Yes.
know, if the card is not, it happens to all of us. I mean, if I find everyone wants to be on the winning side, right? अगर ये लगने लगा कि Congress cannot win elections, I don't know. There's a disillusionment sets in. And I'm telling you, the fact that they're skipping Himachal and Gujarat has not gone down very well to those Congress workers in both these two states.
And they are the principal opposition also in both these two states. Let's not forget that.
Exactly.
So
It's a
is
straight
this
fight.
so is this in any way like a sort of an acceptance of like a loss, throwing the hat in, so to speak, that Gujarat, we don't stand a chance, Himachal, we don't stand a chance, so let's just
See,
not bother.
Himachal, I am not too surprised if he's not going the Yatra because there are those considerations. The route was ultimately to end in Kanyakumari. Gujarat, I'm very surprised I didn't think of it because, as I said, as per the calculations, we should be reaching Rajasthan sometime in December. Elections are likely to be November, December, which means how does he going to manage Gujarat? But look at the sheer optics of it. Going through Gujarat in that Yatra at a time when the Aam Aadmi Party is almost there. I mean, Kejriwal goes there after every 4 to 5 days. He's already been
Yes,
there at least 4 to 5 times in the last 10 days. This is
true.
comes back to the original thing, Advaita. I have always seen this in the Congress party whenever I've covered it. This thing of being safe, playing it safe, that cotton wool kind of existence. Always a soft launch, always not wanting to take risks, whether it was Rahul Gandhi's campaigns are concerned, campaigning in those areas where they feel are stronghold to the Congress, they always try to do that. I think the name of the game has changed. I mean, look at what we saw in Kolkata yesterday, Mednipur, parts of Bengal. The BJP has lost the elections pretty badly, yet they went back to that area. They don't give up. When you're willing to take risks and you're willing to lose yet fight back, you send out this message that we are ready for the game. Here, the Congress party doesn't seem to be sending out that message to its voters. ये डरे हुए हैं. No one wants to vote for someone who's scared. Yeah. Okay, I think now we both seem to be having a light problem today. Mine is a dim light. I think Advaita is also having some kind of a power shortage or a power problem. So I'm just going to keep talking. Hopefully, her light comes back and she joins us. Uh, so that's what I was talking about. I mean, you cannot play safe. Uh, See, what I picked up is the route was drawn really by Digvijay Singh, and fair enough, it was a good choice because Digvijay Singh had done a very successful Narmada Yatra. His age factor, his fitness level And the Narmada Yatra crisscrossing through Madhya Pradesh is not a very easy yatra to do. Difficult terrain. Okay, there you are back. So I was talking about, I was trying to throw light, minus the light. But I was talking about the why Digvijay Singh is
Thank you so
actually has
much
been
for that.
chosen. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I had a power outage. Sorry. Please go on.
Yeah, so I was talking about the fact that how this entire route of Yatra has been planned by Digvijay Singh. And on a side note, there's a return of the man who at one point of time was called the guru of Rahul Gandhi, but something clearly went wrong between the two of them. Uh,
Hmm.
but Digvijay Singh redeemed himself, I think, largely because of the Narmada Yatra. Now remember, Digvijay Singh ने दो गलती की थी. एक तो Goa, 2017, he was in charge. They could have formed the government, but there was a miscommunication which was happening between the central leadership and Digvijay Singh and the Goan Congress. Because Vijay Sardesai, for example, was ready to support the Congress, they could form the government, but he wanted a certain number of, berths, portfolios, for which he tried to connect with Rahul Gandhi. And what the legend goes is Rahul Gandhi did not take the call and he was incommunicado, and therefore it fell apart. So Digvijay
Yeah.
Singh faced a lot of flack for that. Second, the fall of the Madhya Pradesh government is pinned on Digvijay Singh. But how did he redeem himself? He's a very smart politician. He goes on a 45-day Narmada Yatra, small crowd, but they kept on increasing, and all along the Narmada River. So it was a kind of a spiritual political yatra, and it was not an easy one because वहाँ पे terrain was very bad, sleeping in the night in the villages and all. He was
Hmm.
chosen by Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra idea था actually having been the head of the agitation committee, and he chose the yatra and the route of the yatra. And apparently the Gandhis are very, very impressed with him. The way, and every detail, that's what my sources tell me, every detail has been worked out by him. This whole idea of containers, कहाँ पे parking होगा, कौन कौन जगह पे रुकेंगे, कौन से मंदिर जाएंगे, इस state में यहाँ जाएंगे, the important points of the state. And the social media campaign. See, I have to give it to the Congress this time round. At least they've got the social media campaign right during the
Hmm.
yatra. But every
Hmm.
time an incident like Goa takes place, man, whether it's going to be hugely embarrassing and it puts you back by 3 steps.
Even meeting that pastor in
Yeah,
Tamil Nadu, I mean, you have to kind of vet the people who meet him and who he engages with. I mean, that's you can't, at this time be meeting people who are being called
exactly.
out for hate speech in the
No, and
past.
Vedha,
I
problem
hate
is that it's and it was not an impromptu meeting. It was out of the yatra at his office, so it is planned. Second thing is you're in any case on a back foot when it comes to Hindutva issue, when it comes to the nationalism issue. That's a race and a game you're trying to play when you make Rahul and Priyanka go to temples. Then you go and meet a pastor who's known for his
yeah,
anti-Hindu speeches. अरे किसी ने तो Google search करके देखा होगा. Even we were like appalled the moment we saw him.
yeah,
And
yeah.
in this day and
I mean,
age, all telephone conversation, everything is recorded. It just gets leaked out. You have your opponent sitting there. You have to be doubly careful.
yeah,
But are you
absolutely.
impressed with the yatra, Advaita? Are you following the yatra at
You
all?
know,
I mean, I think on
I
Twitter,
was I decided not to criticize the yatra because I just felt that, so often we whine and we grumble that, useless opposition, no opposition. And for a good functioning democracy, you need an opposition. I think most sensible people will agree with that, whoever you support. I understand that the prime minister is a phenomena. If I was in politics and on the other side, I would be pulling my hair out by now because it's very, very hard to compete with a 24/7 hugely popular politician and a leader, which is what they're dealing with. So I didn't want to trash it because I think it takes effort to even do this much. But when they did that, you may know, Pallavi, I was very actively involved in political violence in Kerala, and
yes.
I went to Kannur and saw what was happening there, and pretty much at very great personal risk. So you can imagine just how risky it is for the people who actually live there. So when they did that whole poster of the burning RSS uniform, I just felt like when you're talking about Bharat Jodo, why are you throwing this negativity into your campaign? Because anyone who's won like this, be it Prime Minister Modi, be it Barack Obama, people who've had like great success in politics and come in with a wave, have always offered hope and positivity and change in the positive sense. They've not come with an agenda of fear mongering, of divisiveness, of singling out people. And I feel that the Congress always falls into that trap. Like they feel that they have to be, you know, fear mongering in this way and creating these situations, and especially in Kerala where, political violence can be triggered so easily. So it's almost like, giving permission. But the weird thing is, because I know the area well and Kannur well, is that uh, in Kerala, really the Congress is more threatened by the CPM than they are by the RSS. So your local cadre is also not going to buy it in the way that you expect it to, because Congress workers have been killed by CPM workers. So there is a
I
lot
mean,
of animosity and fear.
two interesting things over here. One, of course, and I wrote an article on this also, Advaita, that Jab Congress Party has done a negative campaign, especially targeting the Prime Minister, is always boomerang on them. And it starts from Sonia Gandhi's time, if you remember, Maut Ka Saudagar. उसके बाद there
Yeah.
was a deliberate strategy which I remember Ahmed Patel, the late Ahmed Patel had told us once that उसके बाद हमने एक सबक सीख लिया कि प्रधानमंत्री पे हम कोई कमेंट नहीं पास करेंगे मुख्यमंत्री पे at that point of time. And they stopped doing that. No reference to 2002 riots at all because they knew that would suit the BJP's narrative, and more than that, Modi's popularity in Gujarat.
Hmm.
Maut Ka Saudagar, Chaiwala, Recharge Me, all of that has always boomeranged on the Congress party. Still they go
Chaukidar
and do
show
it.
hai, the
चौकीदार
latest.
शो रहा है एंड मुझे तो
I mean,
समझ में नहीं आता that Rahul Gandhi owns the fact that G20 now G23 stands vindicated. You cannot see the first of all they got the uniform wrong, which is what I asked them. कि एक तो वो तो अब खाकी टॉर्च पहनते नहीं है तो तुम तो गूगल में
yes,
करना बंद ही कर दिया. उसके ऊपर में बर्निंग होल that denotes violence, and this yatra
exactly.
is about love and not having violence, about Mahatma Gandhi. That's one. Second, अब देखो how the strategy goes wrong. You're right about the CPIM. If you remember, the CPIM came out with a tweet and a poster where they say, strange that how the Congress party is not going to Gujarat and Himachal when elections are coming up there. Why are they spending so much time in Kerala? What's the response of the Congress party officially to it? That you are Mundu Modi. That means you're a B team of Modi. अरे क्या बोल रहे हो? I didn't understand it and I replied because everyone knows that Rahul Gandhi is mesmerized and besotted by Sitaram Yechuri, जो लेफ्ट
Yeah,
का लीडर है. दूसरी बात है कि लेफ्ट में भी ओपोनेंट इन केरला पर इन बंगाल दे आर एलाय. इनफैक्ट ममता बनर्जी ने तो यही तो कहा था, यू लीव लेफ्ट, यू कम अलोंग विद अस. No, no, ideology is more important. And Rahul Gandhi's team is supposed to be bending towards the left. It's a no
totally.
touch zone. Some opponents have to be on your side. Those who are not actually affecting you. Like AAP and all, I can understand. You keep them away. But some of your opponents are not dangerous for you. CPIM could have been, that confrontation could have been avoided, but Congress is
No,
Congress.
but the thing is, I mean, if the left is basically like Bhasmasur, right? They have kind of settled their prospects, and Pinarayi Vijayan is hardly leftist in terms of his economic policies and and the kind of positioning he does. But Rahul Gandhi's coterie now, which they say is heavily leftist, to the exclusion of like congressmen, is really going to take him down this path of a lot of identity politics, a lot of negativity, which is going to just be the law of diminishing returns is going to really apply. In fact, he should get some nationalists onto his team if Congress is really the big tent, and get his perspective in order, because this doesn't resonate with the public. And at the end of the day, you or I can say things that are not popular with the public because we're not standing for election. But for a political party, they have to resonate with the public.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And see, Abhi, it's just 1 week old. It's 150 days, 142 days, I think. Otherwise it's going to become very boring and predictable. You have to think out of the box in state after state. You have to start doing something new. You cannot do the same thing, picking up children, which of course has landed them into trouble now. Picking up children, hugging women. हर स्टेट पे कुछ नया नया करना पड़ेगा. I don't know, do they have a plan for that?
नया नया जो होने वाला है, I think will be this combo of G23 along with maybe the BJP, who's going to engineer some exits along the path. I think that's what we're
I
going to
think it's
see.
going to be a very newsy yatra. Middle of the yatra is going to be the Congress presidential elections. वहाँ भी थोड़ा बहुत drama and fireworks होगा. And of course, what happens along the way. Okay, so Beta's gone again, so we're going to start wrapping up, I think. Basically, along the way, there are going to be those embarrassing moments. I think that's the plan. What I'm discovering at G23 is not going to be watching by. Many of them are smarting. Many of those who think have decided to stay back, like an Anand Sharma, maybe bidding their time. At a critical juncture, they are going to end up making the news and make it very, very embarrassing for the Congress party. And more importantly, embarrassing for Rahul Gandhi. I mean, the first week ends with this very, very embarrassing moment for Rahul Gandhi. And over here, I'm minus Advaita. I really have to call it off. I'm sorry, Advaita is not there to have the last word. But guys, thank you very much for watching. Advaita, see you soon.
Well, I guess we're done for the day. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to actually be doing these shorter sessions, and I'm really grateful to Pallavi for joining us. Do continue to watch these because I thought it might be a good idea to do the big news item of the day and have a quick discussion on it to get some perspective on it because everyone's at work, everyone's busy, not necessarily checking the news all the time. So it's good to speak with someone like Pallavi who follows this regularly. But yes, Himanshu, miracle did happen. I'm back. Electricity issues today. I apologize for the interruptions in this broadcast, and we will see you again soon. As always, do like, share, subscribe, and share this discussion with anyone who you think might be interested in this topic. I'm sure it's not the last time we're going to discuss an exodus from the Congress. There's a searing sense of deja vu, and it's very unfortunate because I do think that they're trying to make an effort, but here we go. Thank you so much. Solar lagwa. Solar lagwa ke global citizen baniye. That's a good idea. Darwinian chimp. Okay. That's a good idea. I'll try that. Thank you everybody for watching and see you soon. Bye bye.